Kaiser goes serious on reading this, and he remarks that it is not an ordinary S-rank artifact, but a relic of the Creator God. Seijin is confused about hearing the mention of the Creator God, and Kaiser tells him that he has been searching for the traces of the Creator God diligently outside the dimension till now. But he never knew that one of them was right in his tower. Seijin tells Kaiser nervously that this still doesn't answer his question, and he doesn't understand what he is saying. He asks him to explain it in football terms so that he can explain. Kaiser realizes that he needs to explain everything from the beginning so that a human with a limited lifespan can understand. He also tells Eileen to listen carefully, because this story is going to be important. With that, Kaiser begins narrating the story of how it all started. In the beginning, the dragons were born to serve the Creator God. The Creator God had created the entire world, and according to his will, the dragons maintained the peace of the world and the balance of the dimension. There were various dragon families who strived to create a perfect world, filled with abundance and harmony under the guidance of the Creator God, who looks like a woman in my opinion. Kaiser says that they call that period of time the age of the Creator God. Then one day, the Creator God called all the dragons to him. He asked them that in case he disappeared, could they use his power to maintain the world? The dragons were shocked by this, and the golden dragon told the Creator God that he should not indulge in these useless thoughts again. The god grew irritated by his response and asked the dragon to just consider a hypothetical situation in which he vanishes. The dragon, the young Kaiser, was the one to answer the question. He replied that it would be impossible for them to manage the world that belongs to the Creator God all by themselves. He said that they cannot even imagine a world without the Creator, and the god laughed, calling Kaiser as rigid as ever. Kaiser then asked His Majesty. He then showed his faith in the dragons, saying that they will surely be able to manage the world, because they are doing that even now. Kaiser says that at that time, the dragons thought that the Creator God was just joking with them, because he had a playful side to his nature as well. He would humor children and occasionally create playful things for them. Kaiser remembers that the Creator God was compassionate, yet strict and a bit fickle at times, but he made sure everyone was happy. However, that time, they had no idea that the Creator God was not joking around when he talked about disappearing. One day, the Creator God just vanished, and immediately a devastating thunderbolt hit the ground, destroying it. A crack appeared in space and time, and dark energy begins flowing out of it, damaging the monument of the Creator God. The dragons were completely shocked and clueless because of how suddenly everything happened. But it was the crack of a finger, and the great dragon turned to dark thrones. Their dimension was falling apart quickly because of the dark energy, and the dragons began falling prey to panic, wondering if the Creator God left them behind. Kaiser tried to lead them, telling them to get themselves together, because the Creator God left the monuments behind for times like these. He told the dragons that they needed to secure the monuments so that they could stop the dimension from crumbling, but it was too late already. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the dimension, shattering the monuments into pieces and scattering them into the cosmos. That was what sealed the deal on the dimension's fate. As their dimension fell to ruin, the dragons could only watch helplessly. They were hurt that they couldn't live up to the Creator God's expectations, and then another problem arose. They found that the ones who destroyed the monuments were mysterious beings of destruction who came from somewhere else. The dragons couldn't understand their origin or motivation, but they knew that they were trying to destroy the dimension completely. So the dragons fought back against them and managed to stop them after a long battle. After that, with the help of the power left for them by the Creator God, they were able to find the towers, and they were able to send the people from the dying worlds into the tower to save them. But even then, they could only save a small portion of the population. Kaiser begins agonizing about how it has been 3,000 years since the incident, and he finally found the fragment of the Creator God's monument today. Suddenly, Sejin interrupts him because he wants to ask something. Kaiser is furious and asks him what the reason is for disturbing him, because the story is at a very important point right now. Sejin tells Kaiser that there is something he is curious about. He asks the Black Dragon what he means by sending the lives of a dying world into the tower. Kaiser tells him that the tower is designed to appear in a world that is destined to be destroyed. The beings of destruction will soon evade the planet and bring calamity upon it. And before that, the tower will select survivors and allow them to enter it. Sejin begins stammering as he asks what will happen to the people who are not chosen and if they will all die. He says that a tower appeared on his planet too, and that is how he got in. Kaiser doesn't mince words, and he tells Sejin that if the humans fail to overcome the trials of the calamity, their world will be destroyed. This shocks both Sejin and Eileen, who wonder if the Earth is really going to be destroyed. Meanwhile, in the wandering merchant village on the 75th floor, Theo has just finished registering all the cats from the granary village as wandering merchants. He asks them if everyone has finished registering or if anyone has left, and everyone tells him in unison that they are done. Finally, the wandering merchant villager slowly collects and finds themselves wandering too, leaving he and Lisbeth behind. Theo then tells Jeff to lead the cats and go to the 67th floor with the wolves to collect the red locust corpses. Jeff is shocked by this responsibility, and he asks Theo if he is even allowed to do this. Theo climbs down from his high ground and tells Jeff that he believes in him because he has always been diligent. Theo says that Jeff never ran away from the village and took care of the cats responsibly, and all these cats could become wandering merchants thanks to him. Jeff is really moved by that, and he promises to serve Theo for the rest of his life. Theo just laughs, and then the cats start heading out to the 67th floor. After that, Theo tells Oren to carry his bundle because they need to go to the 38th floor to sell crops. Oren obeys him without complaining, and Iona compliments Theo, saying that he has become quite skilled at handling his subordinates. Theo laughs proudly, saying that he is really awesome. Iona tells him that he would have been more awesome if he only hadn't said it out loud. They start bickering about that, and the rabbit princess Piu Piu asks Oren about the relationship between Theo and her master. Oren doesn't know the details himself, but he has only heard that they have an important relationship. On the other hand, Theo asks Iona if she really wants to come to the 38th floor with him and not go to the 99th floor with Piu Piu. Also, he thinks that she should go to the 67th floor first, because according to Elka's report, the red locusts were acting strange. As Iona and Theo sit on Elka's head, she tells him that it is actually a good thing that the red locusts are changing their attack pattern. Elka and Theo are confused to hear that, and Iona decides to explain it to them. She says that locusts evolve according to their population size. Initially, they are of yellow color when their population is low, and as it increases, they become green, blue, red, and then finally purple. She says that if the number of the locusts decreases, their color fades, and they become smaller and weaker. Iona then adds that gluttony is the characteristic feature of locusts, and they have to constantly keep moving to find more food sources. However, this thing can be used as a weapon against them too. Without a proper food source, the locusts can't bear their hunger, and in the end, they will start devouring each other and ultimately go extinct. And right now, the changing attack pattern of the locusts signifies that they are devolving. Meanwhile, on the 67th floor, the lizardmen warriors are changing the tough blade green onions. The general of the lizardmen, Tamuro, crushes a red locust body under his foot because he is getting tired of fighting them constantly. Just then, a lizardmen soldier comes to him carrying a locust and shows that it has a blue shade on its head. Tamuro exclaims in joy because this means that the number of the red locusts has dropped significantly. He is hopeful that the fight won't last too long now, and they will soon clear the locusts and reclaim their land. Just then, an unexpected guest arrives there and says that it is really good news. Everyone turns around to see a wealthy pig merchant and 2 jackal bodyguards. This pig is Terk, the leader of a large wandering merchant group under landlord Grid's command. Everyone knows Terk because he is a big shot, and Tamuro asks why he is in such a dangerous place. Terk says that many lizard men are sacrificing their lives for the sake of the tower, so he came here to show his gratitude. He then gives a gold medal to Tamuro, saying that it is a small token of appreciation from his master, Grid. Tamuro takes the tower coin guarantee medal, and Terk explains that if he goes to the Merchant Association's bank, he can exchange it for 1,000 tower coins at any time. Tamuro is shocked to hear the amount and says that it is inappropriate for him, but Terk persuades him to keep it. He flatters Tamuro, calling him a hero protecting the 67th floor, and adds that Grid would like to actively support him as a sponsor. Also, he says that Grid also wants to help with the rebuilding of the 67th floor once the matter with the locust is over. Tamuro is shocked to hear about this generous offer, and he asks Terk what can he do to repay this great favor. Terk tells him that Grid is a humble person, so he won't ask for much, and then asks Tamuro if he has some time so that they can talk over tea in the comfort of a tent. He tells the other lizard men to come with him too because they have prepared a lavish feast for everyone to enjoy. However, the feast is not just for the lizard men. As everyone leaves the battlefield, the 2 jackals stay behind and grin menacingly. They open their magic bags and dump out a vast load of food down a cliff, in hopes that the red locusts eat it and increase their population so that the 67th floor falls, despite the best efforts of the lizard men. This chapter starts in the passageway village where all the wandering merchants are trying to reach their destination. Some of the less lucky ones have caught the eye of Scarum, who is trying his best to sell them some scrappy items from outside the tower. This time, it is a metal container that he claims is enchanted with preservation magic, so it can preserve food for a long time. He asks the clueless merchants what they think about it, but they are not interested in it because it doesn't really look that good. Just then, Meryl comes there and links arms with the 2 dog merchants. She begins saying that if she can't sell these items, her dad Scarum will hit her, so they should buy it to save her. The dog merchant suddenly gets suspicious that the goblin is a cat's dad, and he hits her. But the flustered Scarum tells them that his adopted daughter likes to joke, while he assures them that he doesn't hit her. Meryl doesn't deny that statement and instead begins looking cutely at the merchants, asking if they will buy the containers for her. The 2 dog merchants turn out to be Beta Simps who can't resist Meryl's charms, and at the end they buy a lot of containers. Meryl waves them goodbye as these fools happily head on their way. Once they are far away, Scarum starts yelling at her, asking how he is her dad because he is not so old. He tells her to stop saying things that can be misunderstood, but Meryl tells him that it doesn't matter anymore because they sold the item. She then takes out 2 tower coins from the pouch and hands them over to Scarum as his share. He loses his cool again and lashes out at her for giving him such a small amount of money when each container gave them around 5 tower coins of profit. Meryl simply tells him that she was the one who sold the containers, and he is a terrible merchant who can't even sell his own items. She says that Scarum should be grateful to her that she is giving him a share, even though he did nothing at all. After that, she moves on to the main motivation of her teaming up with him. Revenge. She asks him when and how she will be able to take revenge against Theo if all she does is sell these small items. Scarum tells her to be patient because everything has a right time. Suddenly, he notices Theo and his group passing them by, and he pulls Meryl down, telling her to hide. She lets out a startled scream because of that, and Theo hears it. However, by the time he turns in their direction, Meryl and Scarum are hidden behind some barrels. Iona asks Theo what is wrong, and he tells her that he thought that he heard a familiar voice. Meanwhile, the goblin and the vain cat are panting and sweating heavily. Once Theo has gone a bit ahead, they start peeking up from the barrels, and Scarum says that the orange cat is not fit to become a noble. On the other hand, Merle is jealous and furious that he is still with Iona. Scarum quickly identifies the cute hamster as the leader of the magic tower, and that surprises Merle. She asks if the small hamster is really such a big deal, and Scarum affirms, saying that she is the leader of one of the 3 associations that run the entire tower. This annoys Merle, because now she thinks there won't be a way for her to get revenge on Theo and Iona. Godspeed, though. Suddenly she notices the rest of Theo's convoy, including Orin. However, Scarum notices something else. His gaze is fixed on Piu Piu, and Merle asks him why he is staring at her like that. Scarum pulls out something from his coat while he explains that he has seen the rabbit before. Turns out that his memory is sharp, because he has indeed seen Piu Piu's face before on her bounty poster, issued by the pig landlord Greed, or Grid, whatever his name is. She has been labeled missing by Greed, and he has placed a 1,000 tower coins reward on her. And Scarum says that this is going to be their golden opportunity. Meanwhile, Theo and Iona are also talking about Piu Piu. Theo is still surprised by the fact that Piu Piu is the last princess of the Red Ribbon Kingdom, because he has heard stories about the whole royal family being eaten by the red locusts during the invasion. Iona tells him that the royal family was not eaten, instead they were murdered. Theo is aghast to learn this, and so is Elka. Iona then begins to elaborate and explain the story in detail. Decades ago, during the locust invasion on the 55th floor, she was there on the front lines, along with other big shots from the Magic Tower, the Mercenary Association, and the Wandering Merchant Association. They all stayed in the Red Ribbon Kingdom to help the rabbits and discussed their strategy to save as many lives as possible. Iona, who was the vice leader of the Magicians Association at that time, handled magic issues, especially the barrier around the palace that was created using the special power of the Queen of Rabbits. Everyone was working hard, and they were hopeful that the war with the locusts would be over soon, because they would not be able to break through the barrier. However, the pigs among them had other plans. At night, Iona was sleeping on a tiny bed placed on top of a bigger bed, when suddenly she heard a loud noise and woke up. She heard screaming, and as she came out of her room, she found rabbits running away frantically. She asked them what happened, and the rabbits told her that the barrier has collapsed, and now the locusts have invaded the palace. Iona immediately became worried about the queen and rushed to her bedroom, along with other big shots of the Mercenary Association. What they found in the royal bedroom was the horrifying sight of Greed sitting next to the dead bodies of the Rabbit King and Queen and some red locusts lying on the ground nearby. Everyone was too stunned to process what was happening and why Greed was here. But then he spoke up, spreading a web of lies that would trap the entire Red Ribbon Kingdom. He said that the red locusts got through the barrier and ambushed the king and the queen. He claimed that he rushed to save them, but by the time he got here, they were already on the brink of death. But they left him something valuable. He held a scroll in his hand, which was the land deed of the Red Ribbon Kingdom. Everyone was shocked to see that, but Iona guessed what was happening before anyone else. She dashed out of the room as fast as she could, while Greed told everyone else that the king and the queen left the kingdom and the princess to him. He acted like he was trying to win the Oscar for the worst actor and said that he would try his best to take the heavy responsibility of looking after the Red Ribbon Kingdom. One of the Black Warrior rabbits stood up against Greed, telling him to stop lying, because the king and queen would never leave the kingdom to someone who was not even a rabbit. However, Greed's pig guards didn't take this criticism kindly, and they immediately smashed the rabbit to the floor. Everyone was stunned by this, And even though they were concerned about the way Greed was handling things, they didn't speak up. The pig didn't even hide his nefarious intentions and asked if anyone else had something to say. No one dared to speak up to the fearsome boars, and Greed's control over the kingdom was cemented by their inaction. He then menacingly asked them the location of the princess, but thankfully, Iona had already rescued her from falling into the pig's hand. She took the young Peupu and ran away because she knew that Greed's story was full of holes. The locusts could not have barged in through the barrier before the queen became weak, and she was certain that Greed was behind it. She finishes telling the story of the past to Theo, and then explains that the land deed is sealed with the power of the rabbit royal family, and Greed must have planned to become Peupu's guardian and then manipulate her into being his puppet. That way, even after she became the official queen of the Red Ribbon Kingdom, he would be the one in charge. She says that she couldn't let that happen so she could stay safe. Iona says that after the deaths of the king and the queen, the locusts devastated the entire kingdom. Thankfully, the tower manager intervened in time and saved the 55th floor from being completely overrun. The red locusts vanished because of that, but Greed took control of the 55th floor under the pretext of the land deed that he couldn't even open. Iona curses the despicable and disgusting pig, and Theo says that he never knew that Greed was such a bad guy. However, he is curious about how Greed can still act as the landlord if he can't open the land deed. That means that he has not been officially nominated as the landlord, and someone should have taken action against him already. Iona says that Greed must have used his influence on the Wandering Merchant Association and the Mercenary Association. She explains that he has a unique ability to make people side with him using the power of money. Recently, he has even put out a bounty on Peupu because she is now at the age where she can officially become the queen of the Red Ribbon Kingdom. Theo understands everything now, and he asks Iona if she wanted Peupu to meet Sejun, as it was related to this. Iona affirms, saying that she wanted to put Peupu in the protection of the great black dragon himself, and then they would rebuild the Red Ribbon Kingdom. Meanwhile, something else is happening on the second floor of the tower. Two newbie hunters are going towards the forest, and one of them asks the other if it is true that they can level up easily at the place where they are going. The other guy tells him that he is certain, because his mother got this first-rate information from the Hunter Association itself. The first guy doesn't believe him, because the idea of giving someone money in exchange of leveling up doesn't seem legit. But then, suddenly, they come up to a man waiting for them. The man greets the noob hunters and introduces himself as Harrison, a level coordinator. The first guy is really excited to hear that, and his friend asks him if he finally believes what he told him. Harrison tells them that the second guy's mother has made an appointment for them already, so they are already prepared to serve them. He then leads the two boys to their destination, which is a massive field full of strange, monstrous flowers. The boys can't stop gaping at this scene, and Harrison welcomes them to the Gagel XP farm. He tells them that the plant tea monster they are seeing right now was found by their company, and they have mass bred it so that new hunters can quickly become stronger by killing them. Summer stirs to see the tea planet monster he portrayed on the screen. And without giving it much thought, text entry. He pulls out a knife, saying that right now they are offering this service only to selected VIPs. He then cuts off a monster flower, showing that they can get 33 XP by killing it. He says that each square foot of the farm has 4 monsters and asks the boys how much they would like to invest in their training. And the two spoiled rich brats look at each other before emptying their purses. Finally, soon, they set the farm on fire with gasoline. They laugh like maniacs because they are leveling up quickly just by starting a small fire in the farm. They are paying 1,000,001 per square foot of the ground. But that is not too much for rich brats like them, and they keep greedily leveling up. Meanwhile, on the 38th floor, The hunters have set up a mini village so that they can wait for Theo comfortably. Theo and his group watch this from a cliff top, and Elka's curious because he is seeing humans for the first time. He asks Theo if these are the people who are coming into the tower from outside, and he affirms. He sees that there are more people than ever and gets excited to do business. But Orin is terrified of meeting them. Theo doesn't care about that as he goes down to greet the humans, and they get excited on seeing him. They eagerly rush towards him while informing the rest of their group that Theo is here, but then Elka arrives on the scene and starts acting protective of the orange cat. The hunters are taken aback on seeing a wolf monster, and Elka growls at them to scare them further. However, Theo tells him to shut it up because he is scaring their customers. Elka apologizes to him and says that he was so startled by their reaction that he couldn't help it. With that, Theo turns to the humans and tells them that there is no need to fear because Elka is his loyal subordinate. And even though he looks scary, he is a cute doggo. He then turns back to face Elka and asks him to give their customers some service. Elka is sweating because he doesn't want to do it, but it is an order from his boss and he doesn't have any choice. So he immediately lies on his back and barks, acting like a silly dog. The hunters are smitten by his cuteness and they ask Theo if they can touch him. Theo sees a business opportunity in this thing too, and he tells the hunters that it will cost them 1 tower coin per touch. Well, the hunters have a lot of tower coins to spare and they start petting and cuddling Elka, who doesn't enjoy it at all. He can only cry that he became the first Onlifen's model of the tower, and all his pride and the dignity of his tribe were sold for a few tower coins. After that, Theo tells everyone to stop focusing just on Elka because he has another new face with him. He tells them to look towards Orin, who is his new subordinate. Orin is really nervous, and he timidly greets the humans, but Theo turns around and tells him to do better. Orin has no choice now, and he tries his best to act cute as he introduces himself to the hunters. Well, Theo turns him into a business item too, and charges the hunters 1 tower coin for petting Orin and clicking his pictures. However, contrary to Elka, Orin actually likes being coddled by the humans. Now that the side quests have been taken care of, Theo decides to get on with the business and tells the hunters that it is time to start the crop auction. He says that they have just upgraded their bundle so they have more crops to sell today. He takes out the crops from his bundle, telling the hunters that he has 5,000 C-grade magic cherry tomatoes and 5,000 C-grade strength sweet potatoes. Also, he has 1,000 D-grade detoxifying green onions. Theo says that he will sell everything in batches of 500 and everyone gets curious about the new crop, called strength sweet potatoes. However, since they don't know what its effects are, they decide to focus on buying the cherry tomatoes first. Theo accepts their decision and starts the auction with the cherry tomatoes, 500 at a time. The price keeps going up as the hunters compete to get their hands on the treasured weight loss food, going up to 700 tower coins per batch. Iona and Peapu watch them from the sky, and Iona remarks that Theo really shines when he is doing his work. Peapu teases her, saying that she had no idea that her master could develop a crush on someone. Iona gets embarrassed on hearing this and tells Peapu that she shouldn't tease her master. The rabbit princess just laughs, but then she gets serious and asks Iona if she is allowed to feel emotions like this too. She remembers that ever since Iona saved her, she has been training and waiting for the day she gets to play a role in rebuilding her kingdom. She says that now they have some hope, but there is too much for them to do, and she is not sure how to deal with it on a personal level. Iona holds her hand, telling her that she doesn't need to shoulder all the burden alone. She also tells her that being honest about her feelings is nothing to be embarrassed of, and then immediately gets to the point, asking Peapu if the black rabbit is on her mind. Peapu makes the cutest blushing face as her ears twitch on hearing her crush's name. She panics, telling Iona that she is not thinking about the black rabbit because they just met for a couple of seconds. Iona teases her, saying that since she is not being honest now, she won't talk about the black rabbit anymore. Payapu immediately takes back her statement and asks her master what kind of rabbit the black rabbit is. But Iona tells her that she is not answering any questions about him now. Payapu gets flustered by this, but Iona laughs because she is having fun teasing her. Suddenly, Iona notices someone in the forest, and on closer inspection, she finds that it is Meryl who is cheerfully waving to her. Iona gets alarmed as she sees the crazy gold digger and immediately goes to confront her. She lands in front of Meryl and asks her what the hell she is doing here. Meryl says that she is flattered that the great mage remembers her, but Iona tells her to cut the crap. She asks her if she is here to harm Theo again, but Meryl says that she is no longer interested in the stupid yellow cat because her target has changed. Iona is confused and asks what she means, and then Meryl suddenly takes something out from her pocket and points it at her. Iona realizes what the strangely marked sphere in the cat's hand is, but it is too late for her to do anything now. Morl attacks her, and Iona can't dodge the attack. She finds herself trapped in a barrier, and when she tries using magic to break through it, she finds that it doesn't activate. Maria laughs at her, saying that no one can use magic inside the barrier, and that means Iona is just an ordinary hamster right now. Piu Piu was seeing all this, and she quickly came to rescue her master, but Iona told her to stay away. It is too late to do that, because just as Piu Piu comes in his range, Scarum jumps out of the bushes and uses the same magic item on her, trapping her in a barrier. Piu Piu crashes to the ground, unable to understand what is happening. Meryl and Scarum tower over her, menacingly laughing that they are going to earn 100 tower coins by handing her over to greed. They carry Piu Piu and Iona on their backs and walk away, and Fox Inspector Zerath comes there just in time to see them going. However, instead of taking action and risking being captured like Iona, she decides to stay back. Just then, Theo and his group return after making their sales. Theo is really happy because they earned a lot of money today, and he tells Oren that he has the potential to be a great merchant one day. Shadgrand appears. Oren acts humble and says that it is all thanks to Theo's teachings. Zerath approaches them, and Theo recognizes her from earlier. He asks her if she saw the two wizards he was with, because they should be waiting around here. Well, Zerath breaks the bad news to him, and says that she saw Iona and Piu Piu getting kidnapped. Well, I guess it is time for our boy Theo to become John Wick. Meanwhile, on the 99th floor of the tower, Aline is panicking and calling her grandfather an idiot sandwich, because he didn't tell her about the destruction of other worlds before. And she is not even worried about most places, but about Sejin's home, Earth. Zerath tells her that it is not his fault because he told her to read the tower's basic history, and this part was in the first chapter itself. Say, Tashi intones, she's a smart creature, Zerath. She saw the biggest things she's had to contemplate. Those are the principles he has lived by. He begins scolding her for slacking off instead of studying, but Aline just pouts angrily at him. Zerath then tells her that initially all the creatures in the tower knew about this story, but most of them have forgotten it now, because their lifespans are so short. Aline says that she doesn't know about that, and then begins throwing a tantrum as she asks her grandpa if there is a way out of this mess. She says that at this rate, Sejun's planet is going to be wiped out. And though Kaiser understands her worries, he can't do anything. On listening to all this, Kwong asks Sejun if he has another home besides this one, and the Black Rabbit tells him that they are talking about Sejun's hometown. He explains that Sejun's family lives there, and his parents are also Kwong's grandparents by extension. Sejun has been listening to everything silently, and he finally turns to Kaiser asking, "What does the word Trials of Calamity mean?" Kaiser says that it is when minions of destruction attack a place, and the invasion of the locusts on the 67th floor of the tower is a trial itself. He deduces that since Sejin's planet has not faced any trial yet, perhaps the locusts were trying to head there. However, they must have discovered a rift in the dimensions and entered the tower through it instead. Kaiser asks Sejin to think of it as good news, because they have managed to buy some time for Earth. Sejin gets worried on hearing this, because humans have only climbed up to the 38th floor of the tower. And even the stronger monsters of the 67th floor are struggling against the locusts. He thinks that if the locusts appear on Earth, the entire planet will be annihilated in a few days. Aline asks her grandpa if there is any world that has won against the trials, because out of the thousands of habitable worlds, there must be someone strong enough to survive. Kaiser breaks the bad news to her and says that no world has survived the trials till now, and even the dragons don't know if there is a way to win. Sejin suddenly interrupts him, saying that they can't give up hope because there must certainly be a way to beat the trials. Kaiser asks him what he means, and Sejin says that there is one big difference between all the destroyed worlds and his planet. Both Kaiser and Aline are curious to know what the difference is, and Sejin says that it is him, the tower. He says that if the tough green onion blade he grew can help defeat the locusts on the 67th floor, then he might be a variable that can change the course of battle against the trials of calamity.